This video was sponsored by Nebula and CuriosityStream.
Thor Ragnarok is the definitive bisexual text of the 2010s. That is a statement that is crafted to sound controversial, but you cannot argue with it, can you? It's just fucking true. The entire internet agrees with me. Everyone. I asked them all. So why though? Because from a strictly literal perspective, it's not even a little bit gay. Nobody bangs in this movie. No one talks about their storied romantic past. Nobody even really makes long, meaningful eye contact. The closest we get is Thor being in love with his hammer?
Oh my god, the hammer pulled you off the ground.
And Scourge shake-weighting at some rather disinterested wenches? That's some hetero nonsense. But this movie is so bi. Why? Well, since this video is part of the One Villainous Scene project, linked to the full playlist below, obviously I'm gonna try to make the argument that it's Hela. I mean, come on! Look at her! What a literal fucking goddess! Literally. I want her to step on me, and I also want to be her so that I can step on Thor. But it wouldn't be weird because I'm not Thor's long-absent sister, so if I were her, it wouldn't be incest. But if I were her, I'd still be an unbearably sexy, literal goddess. Listen, that is bisexuality right there. But, okay, it's still incomplete, right? I, one bi individual wanting to both be and do one character in this movie, may very well make me extremely bi, but that does not say all that much about the movie. I acknowledge this. We, the audience of Thor Ragnarok, contain multitudes. I do not claim to speak for all of my people, but Hela is still hella gay. I mean, come on, that outfit is 25% D&D armor, 50% good workout clothes, and 25% bondage gear. It is so aggressively sapphic, I'm going to explode. Fire spinning? Gay. This dog? Gay. That hat? Extremely gay. Dual-wielding short swords? Double the sword lesbian? That makes her bi. I don't make the rules. Look at her, literally being gay and doing crimes. No, I will not be taking questions. Okay, we're not getting anywhere with this. What about another villainous scene? Two villainous scenes. I mean, that's not inherently bi, but it's not bi. Let's go for it. Look at this motherfucker. I mean, come on. No, it's not the eyeshadow or the lipstick, although, yeah, that's rad. It's not the outfit or the mannerisms. You are overthinking this. It's Jeff Goldblum. Obviously. This isn't that hard, people. Jeff Goldblum is bi-culture. I mean, for clarity's sake, I have no idea how Jeff Goldblum, the actual human, sexually identifies, and it'd be pretty out of line for me to speculate. But Jeff Goldblum, the actor in the role, Jeff Goldblum, the idea, the persona, the myth, the legend as distinct from the man, is bisexual culture. I'm right.
I exude sexy and expensive. Well, what the heck's that mean?
Listen, being bi in a cis-heteronormative world is weird, and in particular it does kind of problematize the question of representation in media. You know, you can't just shove one kiss in the background of one crowd scene and claim to have written insert corporate media hegemony here's first explicitly bi character. I mean, you can. Bi folks kiss all kinds of people, but it does sort of expose the precise sham on a whole other level, you know? The nature of being bi is that you cannot come out via one relationship. No one person you could kiss or dance with or mention co-parenting with reveals the whole spectrum of the genders to whom you could be attracted. There are too many genders for a cameo. We are hard to pin down. On the one hand, this is why it can be a lot easier to see what straightforwardly qualifies as bi representation in media like TV, where you have plenty of time to see a host of characters grow and change and move through a host of relationships. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend in particular really went for the gold with two canonically bi characters and one character who never specifically labels her sexuality but does canonically date date both men and women. And because we've got options here, we see a variety of experiences represented. One character goes through a serious crisis of identity when he realizes that not only has a male acquaintance been flirting with him, he kinda likes it, and maybe more than kinda, but he definitely also likes women. Another character whose entire plot function for a whole season is that she is dating a guy eventually goes on to have a serious long-term relationship with a woman, a relationship that starts with so little angst or fanfare that you get the feeling this is something she has in fact known about herself and been comfortable with for a while. And one character does not date, sleep with, or even really express interest in anyone within the scope of the show, but does openly identify as bi in a way that is central to her identity. So this is all really cool. Seeing a show utilize its longevity to explore the complexities of its supporting cast's romantic and sexual identities is very neat, and I'm sure that this isn't the only show that's done it well, and I'm excited to see even more of it in the future. But on the other hand, wow, is there a lot of bi angst rooted in the idea that being bi is an achievement to be unlocked by dating and or sleeping with a person of a gender you have not yet dated and or slept with. Wowie zowie, do many of us struggle with feeling like monogamously dating a person who, God forbid, has just one gender suddenly revokes our bisexuality because we have now picked a point on the spectrum to which we shall be immovably anchored until we break up. And boy, oh boy, does beginning and ending the conversation of bi representation with characters who we literally see date or sleep with multiple people as a shorthand for the multiple genders to which they are attracted get some unpleasant interference from the stereotype that being bi inherently means dating or sleeping with more partners than your normal, everyday, monosexual human does. And I mean, if you were just paying any attention at all, you'll notice that I specifically did just mention a character who doesn't date anyone, but because I'm bi, and because I live on the internet, I'm used to needing to aggressively overstate myself to make triple sure that people remember the shit that I've already told them. Because on the other hand, even literally seeing a character have romantic and or sexual relationships with people of multiple genders is not necessarily enough for them to be widely recognized as canonically bi or pan. My favorite example of this is the 2018 chef's kiss of disaster sapphic representation that is The Favorite. If you are aware of The Favorite only from its hype, you probably know it as a historical lesbian movie. If you saw The Favorite, there's a good chance you went on to call it a movie about lesbians. A lot of coverage from people who definitely did see The Favorite called it a movie about lesbians. But here's the thing, there are 3 central characters in this movie, all women, and yes, they do sleep with each other, but they also all sleep, or at least have slept, with men. Now, I do want to be clear because sexual identity labels are an extremely personal thing, and lesbian in particular is one that has a history of some unfortunate bullshit gatekeeping. Sleeping with men, or having slept with men at some point in the past, does not preclude one from being a lesbian. If any actual human with a sexual history resembling one of these characters told me that they identified as a lesbian, it would be extremely gross of me to do anything other than take them precisely at their word and respect that they are the only meaningful authority on that shit. But these characters are not real people, and the label of lesbian has been imposed entirely from without, based not on any textual discussions of identity or poetical waxings on the inherent beauty of womankind, but on the sex that they have in the movie, which again includes sex with men for all of them. And yeah, blah blah historical context, blah blah beards. You certainly could read these women's marriages as being primarily about doing what is expected of them in order to gain or maintain social status and power. But the entire drama of the movie is that that is equally true of the sex they have with one another. It's not the only thing they're getting out of their sapphic interludes to varying degrees, but it absolutely is a huge driving fucking force. One cannot fuck the literal queen without fucking the literal queen. I would argue that each woman's relationship to her husband is perfectly in line with her relationship to the other two women. The gender of the partner may affect the finer qualities of the pleasure or the specific outcomes that can be gained, but sex continues to be both an experience and a tool, regardless of the person with whom it is shared or on whom it is used. But, you know, not straight. So, lesbians.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
This is the challenge, not only of representing bisexuality in media, but of existing as a bi or pan person in a cis heteronormative world. The possibility tends not to occur to the person standing in front of you, that the presentation of the person whose hand you are currently holding, or the pronouns of the person you mentioned going on a date with this weekend or having broken up with last year, do not represent the full spectrum of possibility. In the same way that their yellow-haired partner, or crush on a member of their D&D party, or troubled past with the person who keeps sending those letters from Cincinnati don't mean that they only like blondes or nerds or Ohioans. Sometimes this can be kind of fun and mysterious, like the time my coworker introduced me to a trainee and said I'd steal his girl, and I looked him dead in the face and said, yeah, I will. Sometimes it can be really sweet, like the time a fellow member of my church choir referred to himself as a gay man and me as a straight woman in a context that I swear was relevant and genuinely not weird, and I said I'm actually bi, and he gave me one of the biggest hugs I've ever gotten in my life and said, welcome to the family. But sometimes it can be invalidating and frustrating, like the time I made a video where I talked about breakups I'd gone through with male exes and got comments referring to me as straight, and when other commenters replied pointing out that I had literally said in the video that I'm not, doubling down and saying that, well, I only talked about dating men, how were they supposed to know? And sometimes it can run deeper than that. I have material evidence that my current day job is a queer-friendly place, but if I started somewhere new and offhandedly mentioned to a coworker that I was going on a date this weekend, and they made it clear that they assumed I was talking about a man, what would I do about it? In my country, I couldn't legally get fired for correcting them if I meant a woman or a non-binary person, but things definitely could get weird. And obviously this isn't a scenario unique to bi and pan folks, but there can be a sort of additional, or at least alternate flavor of intensity to it. Am I betraying my whole community of queer siblings if I just let that assumption sit there, even if it is technically correct this time? And this shit gets internalized as all hell, too. Like the time I developed a big old crush on a female coworker, and I felt this immense pressure to do something about it. Of course, if she'd been a guy, I wouldn't have thought twice about doing the responsible thing to do about a workplace crush, which is not a whole lot. Do my job, be nice to her, invite her along if I was part of a group going for an after-work drink, sit next to her and see if we have a nice conversation, and then go from there. You know, generally have fun, feeling sparkly, crushy feelings, and ride the wave if things progress naturally, but be extra prepared for them to not, and above all, don't be fucking weird. But see, because she wasn't a guy, I felt like if I didn't actively pursue something with her, that would be proof that I didn't actually like girls the way that I say that I do. That by not doing a low-key workplace harassment, I was admitting that I was, in fact, not gay enough. Wow, we hate that. What I did instead was... Hold on a second. What I did instead was I bought this sweatshirt. Not only was it a way to support a fellow YouTuber who I think is pretty awesome, it was also a way to declare to the world and to myself through the veil of bullshit Hello, I am not straight. You don't get to tell me that I am, because I know that I am not. You know, without getting rightfully fired for being a dick to someone who was just trying to do her job. And this is where this more nebulous idea of bi culture comes in. Little indicators and things we can claim as ours that heteronormativity can't take away from us. And yes, it's big, shiny, overt stuff like pride flags and this sweatshirt, but it's also subtler and more fun. This, again, is not unique to being bi. Queer folks have been doing this forever. What is so inherently gay about Judy Garland or Subarus? Literally, logically, nothing. But they are gay and lesbian culture. And there's a particular kind of like mods are asleep energy to what has come to fall under the umbrella of bi culture that I just adore. It's very normcore scatterplot. Like, whether or not you currently identify as bi, you probably have at one point sat in a chair in a way other than with your legs crossed at the knee or feet flat on the floor. You probably cuff your jeans or tuck your shirt into high-waisted pants sometimes. You have probably given a double thumbs up or a couple of finger guns. And buddy, that's pretty bi. I mean, I know you've only ever dated insert gender here, but like, who knows? It's between you and yourself for sure. I'm not gonna pressure you or be weird about it. You tell me you're definitely straight, I'll drop it. I'm just saying, there's a whole planet of people out there. You don't have to limit yourself if you don't want to. You might not ever even date any of them. I don't know what your deal is. You could still be quietly into them. Stranger things have happened. Daryl was in his 40s before he figured it out, and he sings our national anthem.
I'm getting by. I'm getting by.
So, if Thor Ragnarok is your favorite Marvel movie, I'm just saying, that's pretty bi. Welcome to the club.
So this video is probably gonna get demonetized. It's not the sexiest thing I've ever made, but it is the gayest, and YouTube has a history of declaring LGBTQ+ content to be more inherently sexual and not safe for advertisers. I think they've gotten at least a little bit better about this lately, but this is my first time making really explicitly bi stuff, and I don't know what's gonna happen. That's just kind of how it works on this platform. You follow the rules to the best of your understanding, but you never really know exactly what the rules are or if they're worth following in the first place, and then whoops, you don't get paid. This isn't even my whole livelihood right now, and it's still pretty stressful. Which is just one of many reasons why a bunch of really cool creators behind channels like 12 Tone, Legal Eagle, Tierzoo, and Wendover Productions got together and started a new streaming service called Nebula. And they let me join. Since Nebula doesn't rely on ads to pay creators, we don't have to worry about playing the worst game ever invented in order to get paid for our work. And you don't have to watch ads, which is also great. There's also tons of extra content, extended cuts, bonus videos, and entire new series where creators get to play around with ideas that might be risky or just straight up not allowed on YouTube. If you were watching this video on Nebula, you'd get to skip this ad read and watch a silly outtake after the credits. And if that's not enough to convince you, let me sweeten the deal. The good folks over at CuriosityStream like what we're doing with Nebula so much that they've worked with us to create a bundle. You know CuriosityStream. They're the subscription-based streaming service with thousands of documentary and nonfiction titles that you will love because you are smart and cool. I've been really enjoying Heston's Dinner in Space, a mini-series following a Michelin star chef trying to figure out how to cook food that can make it all the way to the International Space Station and still taste delicious. When you sign up for CuriosityStream using my link in the description, you'll get 26% off your annual subscription for a total of $14.79. Not only is that one great streaming service at an exclusive discount, you'll also get an email inviting you to Nebula too, no extra charge. And you'll keep both services bundled for as long as you stay subscribed. Holy deals, Batman! You gotta do it!
Thank you so much to all of my patrons, with an extra special thank you to Andreas Evans, Exceedingly Lizzie, Ilona Concetta, LL Milktray, Michelle, Mimi McGann, Richard Lawson, Ronnie Rocket, and Sean Payne. If you'd like to help support these videos directly and maybe see your name up here with all of these lovely people, you can do that at patreon.com/Laura Crone.